Very, very, very grateful. Okay, so today, I decided that what we needed to talk about today was judgment. And as I was listening to the song that Joe was doing, I thought sometimes, moving out of unrighteous judgment can seem like it's way over yonder. How do we get to this place of of not judging with unrighteous judgment? So I want to start with the 5 basic principles of unity. And they are, as we know, ready? God is, I am, I ask, I pray, and I act. Well, the Reverend Ellen Davenport, who actually wrote the book, The 5 Basic Principles, that we did in a small group series not too long ago, said that there is a 6th principle that we probably all should be living by. And this principle is, I mind my own business. That's a good one, isn't it? Hello! It seems like one that would be pretty easy for us. Makes sense to us, I should say. It's not always necessarily really easy for us to live. So, as I said, today we're talking about judgment. What I want to say right to start is that I'm not talking today about the judgment that has to do with discernments that we make throughout our day, or discernments as we're making decisions about things. So I want to be very clear about that. Today, what I'm talking about specifically is unrighteous judgment that we hold about other people, about situations in our personal experience, and about ourselves. So the scripture that I want to share with you is from Matthew 7, 1 and 2. Judge not that ye not be judged, for with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. So I want to first share with you what that second part means. The measure means the degree to which we dole it out. So the judgment, the degree to which we dole it out, meaning how harsh it is, how negative it is, and it could be a good judgment, so it could be a very positive thing. How many people we tell the same story to, how critical, how condemning it is, that it will be measured right back to us in that same degree. And that is the law of cause and effect, my friends. It doesn't have certain areas of our life that it isn't active in. It's active in every aspect of our life, and judgment is one of those areas that it's very active in. What we put out, we know, comes back to us, and it truly is. As you give, you receive. In the moment that we are giving it, we are receiving it. In the moment that we are in a negative expression in our mind about somebody else or about something else, and it's very condemning and mean-spirited, we are literally releasing toxins in our physical body in that moment. Not only are we releasing toxins, we are also releasing energy that is going out, and then cause and effect comes into play there. So it's really important for us to start getting a grip on this idea of unrighteous judgments. So, what is unrighteous? And I love, because I think this great, wonderful master, Jesus, gave us answers all along in the scriptures. He said in John 7:24, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. So basically, unrighteous judgment is any judgment that we are basing on appearance. And actually what that means is that we don't have all the facts, right? If we're judging by appearance, we don't have all the facts. But here's the thing about this, and this is a broad statement, but I would go so far as to say that any judgment that we make is an unrighteous judgment, because we never have all the facts. We never have all the facts. We may think we have all the facts, but I promise you that we never truly have all the facts. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second, because I know that's a hard one to kind of take in. Okay, so what are some possible symptoms of us being in a place of unrighteous judgment? Possible symptoms would be things like using the word should. They should have done this, they should have done that, I should have done this. Being disappointed in how somebody or some situation has shown up, making people wrong, having to tell other people the story about how this person has done something wrong, being critical, condemning, feeling disgusted with something. These are possible symptoms of unrighteous judgment. Have any of us ever experienced any of those things? Wow, some of you haven't. I'm really in awe of that. Well, I want to share with you where I found some clarity in this, because as I was working with this whole idea of unrighteous judgment, for a long time I just couldn't get it to a place where I understood it and where I understood how to move from unrighteous judgment into a better place, or even when I wasn't in righteous judgment. So this is where I found that I was in my struggle, but it's also where I found my answer. What I recognize in my life, and I believe in everybody's life, is every one of us has a value system. And a value system are the beliefs that we carry, the ideas, whether they're conscious or not. It's like our paradigm of what is right and wrong, of what is good and bad, of what is acceptable or not acceptable in our experience. So when things go on around us that don't match our particular value system, our human nature is to make it wrong. Our human nature is to criticize and to condemn, is to gossip about it, to talk about it. And not only, the thing about unrighteous judgment is it's not only about making it wrong, but we literally make people bad based on our value system. And I talked about this on Wednesday night. The Course in Miracles talks about the holy circle, and that if we put anybody outside the holy circle based on judgment, we're out there with them. And we can't not be wherever we place somebody else. Everybody deserves to be in the holy circle, because we are all children of God. We are all truly, at our core, that purely innocent being. And what we need to recognize is that, my value system doesn't have to match your value system. That every one of us has the freedom to have our own value system. Now, in this, the moment that I make you wrong or condemn you for doing something or saying something or showing up in some way that doesn't fit in my value system, in that moment, I'm unrighteously judging you, because I'm judging based only on my paradigm, and I don't have all of the facts in that. Now, let me go back for a moment to what I said about every judgment is an unrighteous judgment. First of all, we don't know what somebody's life experience has been. And I cannot tell you time and time and time again in my life how I've been humbled when I have found out all the facts. I have been so humbled to know what somebody has been through, and to help me understand why they're showing up the way that they are. I thought about the fact that I have 3 siblings. We were all raised by the same parents, and yet we can take one experience, and all 4 of us have different perceptions of what that one experience was. So even when we don't know, we think we know because this was my sibling, or this is my daughter, or this is my husband, or whatever. I promise you, you cannot get inside somebody else's head. Whether the experience happened, perception is everything. Perception that something happened is everything. Secondly, we don't know either where their choices, their beliefs, their actions are ultimately going to lead them. What I'm saying is we don't know the bigger picture. Again, we want to make things wrong. The example that I love to use here is that there was a young man at the age of 22 years old, took his first drink of alcohol, even though his entire family were alcoholics. And this sent him on like a 17-year journey of crazy alcoholism. And this man, he lost his career, he was ill, he was in the hospital numerous times. And for all intents and purposes, we in our value system would look, and we would say, what a waste of a life. What awful decisions and what awful choices he made. He lost his business, he lost friends, and all of this kind of stuff. That man is Bill Wilson, who is the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. And out of Alcoholics Anonymous has come NA, OA, Codependent Anonymous, I mean, all of these wonderful programs that have literally saved hundreds of thousands of people's lives, that has saved relationships, and continues to do that. The point being is that we don't know the bigger picture. We can't see that. Now, let me clarify here. To put this together with what my value system is, perhaps from my value system, I would say I am not going to allow that behavior to be a part of my personal experience. I have the right to do that. I have the right to set a healthy boundary. However, the difference being, am I simply setting that boundary, or am I making that person bad? Am I making that person wrong? And am I, in a sense, putting them outside the holy circle? Because that's what we do, isn't it? We negate their existence in many cases. And we condemn them. We literally condemn them, that they are bad. They are wrong. Do we agree with this, that we have this tendency to do this? Yeah, okay. So another type of judgment that I want to talk to you about too is that I know, and I've shared this, but when I was in high school, I was incredibly shy. I was incredibly introverted. I had no self-esteem. And so I stayed very much to myself. Years later, what I found out were that people thought that I was stuck up and I was a snob. People assumed that they knew what was going on inside of me and labeled me based on their judgment, and it was an unrighteous judgment because that wasn't the case at all. Again, we go back to judge not according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment. And I'm going to say it again, it's all appearance. To us. In us, it's all appearance. I love the story about the couple that moved into the house, and in the morning they went down and they were having breakfast with the big giant window there, and the lady looked out and she was like, oh my gosh. She saw the neighbor hanging up the laundry and she's like, oh my gosh, that woman does not know how to do laundry. It's filthy, look at that. Next day comes down, woman's out there again doing laundry, and again the woman's like, oh my gosh, that woman needs to get an idea here. And meanwhile the husband is just sitting there, he's not saying anything. So this goes on for weeks. Well, one morning she comes down and she looks out and she's like, oh my gosh, the woman's out there putting her laundry up and it's clean. And so this woman's like, oh my gosh, she finally figured out how to do her laundry. How great is that? And her husband just sat back and he said, well, honey, I want you to know that today, before you got up, I came down and I cleaned our windows. And I love that because, again, it's appearance, isn't it? And, that's something we can relate to, we can laugh about, but we have these filters in our inner eyes, these filters that say, again, that this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, this should be accepted, this should not be accepted. And again, I'm not saying that we necessarily have something right in our experience. The difference is, am I making the person wrong? Am I making the person bad? And again, in that, how many of us have ever been unrighteously judged? How many of us have ever judged unrighteously? Did it feel good or did it feel awful? It's yuck, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you're the one judging or if you're the one being judged. It just feels awful. It doesn't feel good. So this journey to move out of this space of unrighteous judgment, it's going to make a difference in how we feel emotionally, how we feel physically. It's going to make a difference in our personal life experience. And this is the kind of stuff, my friends, that makes a difference in the greater, grander scheme of life and in the world. So the question is, how? How do we move from this place of unrighteous judgment to this place of righteous judgment. And the first thing I'm going to say to you is practice, practice, practice. This is not going to be something that's just going to happen overnight. It's going to be practice, practice, practice. So I want to share with you an experience that I had. This was a number of years ago, and I remember sharing it one time, but it just stuck so much in my mind. And I was at home, and I was flipping through the channels on TV, and I came across a televangelist. Now, I will tell you that most of the time when I come across a televangelist, all my little filters come up. And this day, they did. And so here's this man on this show, and he was selling seeds. A seed for $1,000. Just buy a seed for $1,000. And the thing about it was that there were only a few seeds left to go. There were only, and you had to be one of the next callers to get one of these $1,000 seeds. And I was immediately in just disgust. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And the man goes on to say, before I bought my seed, my mother, she was in so much pain and she was crying all the time. And then I bought my seed and my mother was healed. And today you must step out in faith and you must buy your $1,000 seed. And I'm getting more aghast and more aghast and more aghast because I'm feeling like, are you kidding me? Anybody relate at all to that feeling? But I was emotionally feeling just absolute, like, you've got to be kidding me. And my judgment filters were like, you know, wah, wah, wah. I was like, this man he's dishonest. He's leading people on. You know, he's this particular thing, they're just out to make money. I was in this place. When I finally got a grip, and I think it was around the time that I was first talking about judgment anyway, and I finally just thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm in the midst of this. So I just stopped, and I took in a deep breath, and I thought, become the observer of this. Just step back and get out of the muck, get out of the emotion, and just observe this. Just observe it. And so I just sat back for a few minutes and I just let myself breathe. And it's interesting, it's always interesting to me because it works every single time. The moment we get out of our stuff and we're willing to step back and be open to the bigger picture starts to present itself. And all of a sudden, my first thought was, you know what? First of all, it's none of my business. Mind my own business. It's none of my business. Secondly, there may be a lot of people out there that by giving that $1,000, it will increase their faith. And if their faith is increased, that's a great thing. That's a good thing. Secondly, if they give that $1,000 and their faith isn't increased and something great doesn't come out of it for them, quote unquote, I don't know the bigger picture. I don't know what the grand scheme is here of things. All I know is that in those moments when I finally decided to step back and observe what was happening instead of being so caught up in it, I didn't feel the emotion anymore. The emotion is what mucks us up. The emotion is what makes our window dirty, and then we see all kinds of yuck stuff from there. But as soon as I let myself just become the observer and step back, and the windows were clear, so to speak, I could start to see some positive things. And you know, even if I couldn't see any positive things, guess what? It's none of my business. Because I could turn my TV off. From my value system, I could say, this is not acceptable in my environment. Click, and that's it. I could do that, right? We could do that, correct? And you know, it's funny because it's like, it's as simple as that, but I know it's not always that easy. It's not always that easy to remember in those moments to do that. So the first thing I would say is when you find yourself in the midst of unrighteous judgment, and do you know how you're going to know? You're going to feel it. You're going to feel the yuck. You're going to feel the disgust. You're going to feel the anger. You're going to feel the condemnation. Breathe. Just breathe and step back. Just step back. And, in this time, pray, meditate, open yourself up. I am willing to see this differently. The first step is to do that. And the second step is, as we step back, know that it's okay to maintain your value system. No, this is not about becoming a doormat and allowing anything into our experience. In fact, it's really quite opposite of that. Know that it's okay to maintain your value system. Just be aware that as you are deciding whether you want this in your direct experience, and you can say, I don't accept this behavior, I don't accept this in my direct experience. Just be aware as you are doing that and after you are doing that, how are you viewing the person or the situation? I love what Delphine said. I wrote it down because I thought this is such a beautiful way to address especially a person, is to say, may you be at peace, may you be free, and may you know the blessings of Spirit. And I would say turn it around. May I be at peace, may I be free, and may I know the blessings of Spirit. I love, Sean shared with me, a woman named Bessie Cooper from Georgia who last week turned 116 years old. And when the Guinness Book of World Records talked to her and they said, what's your secret? And she said, I don't eat junk food and I mind my own business. So this week, my friends, I'm going to invite you to let this be your mantra. Let this be our sixth principle, and let's say it together. I mind my own business. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen and amen, and namaste.